God says, you have no idea how many high-profile people are secretly watching your journey. You will be shocked to hear what they are talking about. I speak to you now gently, my dear one, not to startle your weary spirit, but to steady it like a soft breeze cradling a flickering flame. What you have been sensing deep in your heart, the subtle pull, the unexplained nudges, the quiet whispers of something greater at work, is real. It is not imagination or fleeting hope. What has been unfolding around you these past months, these hidden threads weaving through your days, has not been mere coincidence. No, child of light, it is the hand of God orchestrating a symphony you cannot yet fully hear, but one that is already echoing in places far beyond your sight. God says to you today, with a father's tender authority, you have no idea how many high-profile people are secretly watching your journey. Leaders in quiet boardrooms, influencers scrolling through feeds in the dead of night, executives pausing mid-meeting to reflect on a story that mirrors your own, they see you. Not always with fanfare or applause, but with eyes sharpened by experience, hearts stirred by recognition. This is not said to inflate your sense of self or distract you from the path beneath your feet. It is to prepare you, to anchor you in truth, because when the veil lifts and the truth surfaces like dawn breaking over a shadowed valley, you may feel a holy surprise. You will look back and marvel at how far your life has already reached, how deeply your light has penetrated realms you never dreamed of entering, all without you realizing it. You believed you were moving quietly through this season, didn't you? Your steps felt small, tentative, like footprints in soft sand that the tide might wash away unnoticed. You thought that because no spotlight shone on you, because no crowds gathered or headlines blared your name, you were unseen, invisible in the grand tapestry of the world. Perhaps you even whispered to yourself in moments of doubt, am I making any difference at all? Does anyone care? But heaven smiles at that thought, a knowing smile that holds no judgment, only gentle amusement at how limited our earthly vision can be. Visibility does not always announce itself with trumpets and parades. Sometimes it observes from the shadows, patient and discerning. Sometimes it studies your every move, weighing your heart against the scales of eternity. Sometimes it waits, like a gardener watching a seed push through soil, knowing the bloom is inevitable. God says there are eyes on you that you never expected, people of influence, wielding authority like scepters forged in trials, seasoned by years of hard-won experience, their reach extending to stages and platforms you have yet to imagine. They have been paying attention in silence, not out of idle curiosity, but with purpose. They have watched not just what you achieved in those rare moments of breakthrough, the small victories that lit up your soul like stars piercing the night, but how you endured when the road grew steep and thorny. Not just where you succeeded, tasting the sweet fruit of persistence, but how you carried yourself when uncertainty loomed like storm clouds, when questions battered your faith like relentless waves. Picture it, beloved, they noticed your restraint when provocation burned hot in your chest, when words of anger rose like bile and every fiber screamed to unleash them. They saw your discipline when quitting would have been the easier path, when the weight of weariness pressed down and surrender whispered sweet lies of rest. They witnessed your integrity shining like polished gold in the furnace, when compromise dangled before you like forbidden fruit, promising quick relief from the grind. And though they did not speak to you directly, though they did not reveal their interest with a handshake or a message, their conversations have been happening. Quietly, behind doors you were never meant to knock on, in whispered exchanges over coffee in high-rise offices or late-night texts between allies. God says you will be shocked to hear what they are talking about, my child, because much of it contradicts the story you told yourself in the lonely hours when you felt overlooked, undervalued, like a forgotten letter in a drawer. They are not dissecting your flaws the way fear painted them in your mind, magnifying every stumble into a fatal flaw. They are not questioning your worth the way doubt whispered at night, its voice a serpent coiling around your dreams. No, they are talking about your potential, that divine spark God planted in you before the foundations of the world. They speak of your consistency, a rare jewel in a world of fleeting trends. They marvel at your depth, the unshakable well of faith that draws from rivers unseen. Some utter your name with curiosity, like explorers spotting a new horizon. Who is this one? There's something there. Others with respect, nodding in quiet admiration, they carry grace under pressure like few others. A few even say with strategic intent, we need to watch this one closely, they're onto something real. And yes, a handful, though you would never guess it, feel challenged by you. Your light does that, you see. It exposes contrast without saying a word, illuminating shadows they thought safely hidden. It stirs envy in some, inspiration in others, but always, it moves the air. You wondered, in those stretching seasons of waiting, if your patience was costing you opportunities that others snatched up with bold hands. Heaven says no, it was positioning you for the right ones, the God-ordained doors no man can shut. You wondered if staying quiet, holding your tongue amid chaos, meant being forgotten in the noise. Heaven says it meant being studied without distortion, your true essence undistorted by the clamor. You wondered if choosing peace over strife, forgiveness over retaliation, made you invisible, a whisper in a shouting world. Heaven says it made you magnetic, a lodestar pulling the right eyes toward you while repelling the wrong. There are people with access you do not yet have, keys to vaults of opportunity, networks spanning continents, resources flowing like hidden springs, who already know more about your journey than you think. They saw how you handled loss, not with bitterness that poisons the soul, but with a surrender that births resurrection. They watched you navigate delay, those interminable pauses that test the mettle of faith, and saw not frustration, but quiet trust. They observed how you handled misunderstanding, when words twisted like vines around your intentions, and you chose clarity rooted in love over defense born of pride. What impressed them most was not your strength on good days, when the sun shines and praises flow easy, but your composure on the hard ones, the nights of tears, the days of grinding toil, the moments when heaven seemed silent as stone. God says some of these people are waiting, not for you to chase them with desperate pleas or prove yourself through frantic displays, but for the right moment to reveal themselves. Timing matters in the divine economy, more than our impatience can grasp. Alignment matters, souls and seasons syncing like gears in a master clock. Protection matters most of all, a shield woven from angels' wings keeping premature exposures at bay. If you had known too early who was watching, peering from the wings of your life, it might have changed how you moved. It might have tempted you to perform, to twist your authentic self into a mask for approval. Pride could have crept in, subtle as fog, altering your course. So heaven allowed you to believe you were unseen, a solitary pilgrim on a narrow path, so you would stay true, to God, to your calling, to the quiet voice within. Do not let this knowledge make you anxious, my beloved, pacing the floors with what-ifs swirling like dust devils. Let it make you grounded, roots sinking deeper into the soil of peace. You are not being observed to be judged by human scales, flawed and fickle, you are being observed because you are becoming. Becoming the vessel God envisioned, refined in fire, filled with purpose. And becoming draws attention long before arrival does, it is the fragrance of rain on parched earth that summons the clouds. Some of these watchers speak well of you, their words rising like incense in heavenly courts. Some advocate for you in rooms you've never entered, their voices championing your cause. This one has what it takes, let's make space. Some mention your name when opportunities arise, casual yet pivotal. Keep an eye on them, their story is just beginning. Others are surprised by how steadily you've grown without external validation, a tree thriving in hidden soil, branches reaching for unseen skies. And yes, there are a few who underestimated you once, dismissing your quiet steps as weakness, and are now quietly revising their opinions, humbled by the evidence of grace at work. God says you will hear fragments of these conversations soon, not all at once in a dramatic unveiling that overwhelms, but enough to confirm what I whisper now. A comment dropped in passing at an unexpected gathering, I've been following your work, it's solid. A revelation from a mutual connection, you won't believe who asked about you last week. An acknowledgement in an email or call, referencing a detail from your past you thought buried. And when you hear it, you may feel a mix of disbelief, like waking from a dream, and clarity, as puzzle pieces snap into place. Suddenly, the delays that frustrated will shine as divine pauses. The silence that echoed loneliness will reveal itself as sacred preparation. The protection that felt like isolation will gleam as guardianship. The redirections that bruised will bloom as perfect alignments. All of it was working together for your good, as Romans 8:28 promises, because you love God and are called according to His purpose. But listen carefully now, my child, with the ears of your spirit attuned. This is not a call to pride, that subtle thief that swells the head and shrinks the heart. It is a call to steadiness, to the rock-solid faith that weathers every storm. Do not change your pace, accelerating into frenzy or slowing to hesitation. Do not start performing, donning costumes for an audience of ghosts. Do not shrink yourself to fit imagined molds or expand beyond the boundaries God has set. Continue walking the way you have, anchored in His word like a ship to its moorings, honest in your dealings as light to truth, faithful in the small as preparation for the vast. The same grace that carried you unseen through valleys will carry you into visibility when the time is right, ushering you onto stages prepared from eternity. God says some people watch quietly because they are discerning spirits, testing the fruit as Jesus taught in Matthew 7, seeking what endures. Others because they are cautious, scarred by false lights that flickered and failed. Others because they are waiting to see if what they sense in you, that holy fire, that unquenchable spirit, is sustained through seasons of drought. Consistency is louder than charisma, which dazzles but fades like fireworks. Character speaks longer than talent, which shines bright but can rust without roots. And you have been speaking fluently without knowing it, your life a testimony etched in actions, not announcements. Let me paint a picture for you, to etch this truth deeper. Imagine a vast theater, dimly lit, with seats filled long before the curtain rose. You step onto the stage alone, or so you think, pouring out your heart in monologue to an empty house. But from the balcony, from the private boxes, eyes gleam, directors scouting talent, producers sensing a star, peers measuring a rival or ally. They applaud inwardly, take notes, whisper to companions. You exit to silence, wondering if anyone came. Yet the house was full, heaven had reserved the seats. There will come a moment when someone approaches you, perhaps at a coffee shop or conference, and says something that catches you off guard, piercing straight to your core. They will reference a part of your journey you didn't know anyone noticed, a quiet act of kindness in a forgotten post, a stand you took when no one was looking, or resilience in a trial shared only with God. They will mention a decision you made in secret, a season you endured with gritted teeth and lifted prayers, a standard you kept when the world urged you to bend. And in that moment, time will pause, and you will realize, you were never alone in the audience. Heaven had seats filled long before you saw the stage, angels and earthly watchers alike bearing witness. Do not fear what they are saying behind those doors, those murmurs you cannot control. You were never meant to manage whispers, interpret glances, or chase explanations that were not assigned to you. What is not aligned with God's will cannot harm you. It has no spine, no breath of its own. It rises briefly like dust stirred by hurried feet and then collapses under its own weight. It crumbles like chaff in the wind because it has no root. Conversations rooted in jealousy dissolve like mist at dawn, impressive only in the darkness, powerless when light arrives. Opinions formed in misunderstanding fade like echoes in a canyon, loud at first, then thinner, then gone, leaving no mark on the stone of your becoming. Only what heaven endorses remains. Only what God breathes upon survives the testing of time. What remains is growth blooming quietly in your spirit, favor unlocking chains you did not even know were there, purpose unfolding on schedule, petal by petal, not rushed, not forced, but perfectly timed. You are not late. You are not lagging behind some invisible standard others seem to meet with ease. God does not wind his plans with the anxious ticking of human clocks. He moves with seasons, with gestation, with patience that produces strength. Delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart, not the shallow ones born of comparison, but the deep desires he himself planted long ago. Those desires are not forgotten. They are being spoken into existence by lips you never knew would carry your name. In rooms you have never entered, your work, your endurance, your spirit are being discussed. In prayers whispered by strangers, your path is being lifted before God. You did not campaign for this. You did not strive for it. Heaven arranged it. Rest in this truth now, beloved. Let it wash over you like a balm on weary limbs, soothing places that have held tension for too long. You have been vigilant, watching signs, reading silences, trying to understand what could not be understood from where you stood. Lay that burden down. You are not invisible, a ghost drifting through your own story. You are not forgotten, tucked away on some divine shelf, waiting for attention that never comes. You are being watched with interest, like a rare manuscript scholars pore over slowly, reverently, aware that meaning unfolds layer by layer. You are being spoken of with curiosity, your name a spark in strategic minds, your consistency noted even when your presence is quiet. You are being remembered with intention, etched into hearts prepared to act when the time is right. And as this revelation settles into your bones, consider the ripple effect of a life lived faithfully when no applause was offered. Your quiet journey does not stop with you. It inspires beyond what you can trace. Chains of influence move without announcement. Someone in authority repeats your story to a team, not mentioning your name at first, but describing your perseverance, your clarity, your refusal to quit when quitting would have been justified. Innovation sparks. Courage spreads. Someone with a platform shares a fragment of your wisdom, a line you wrote, a thought you lived, and thousands feel seen because you chose honesty over polish. A mentor remembers your endurance and recognizes the same flicker in another soul, guiding them with the patience you once needed. God multiplies what you sow in secret. What you watered with tears returns as harvests you never planted for yourself. Stay humble. Not small, not hidden, not apologetic for the light you carry, but grounded. Humility keeps your roots deep so your branches can stretch without breaking. Stay focused, eyes steady on the one who authors beginnings and completes them. Stay true, a living letter read by all, not because you tried to teach, but because you chose to live aligned. God sees you, every tear that fell where no one noticed, every triumph you celebrated quietly because boasting felt wrong. Heaven guards you, not with fragility, but with strength. You are not alone on this road. And many more people than you realize are quietly learning from the way you walk your path, steady, radiant, divinely led. Let us go deeper into this mystery of hidden watchers, because God does not want you confused by attention you did not seek. Not all eyes are the same. Some belong to gatekeepers, people positioned near doors you once prayed would open. They hold keys to industries, communities, callings you have carried in your heart without knowing how to reach. They watch without announcing themselves. They scroll late, guided by an inner nudge they cannot explain. They save your words. They return to your work. Something lingers, like a half-remembered dream that refuses to fade. They are discerning, weighing not just your talent, but your spirit. Others are peers, rising voices, steady builders, people on parallel paths. They see in you not a rival, but a reflection, a resonance. They recognize shared values, similar burdens, complementary strengths. They watch, not to compete, but to collaborate. They sense synergy before language forms. A few are the challenged ones, unsettled by your ascent because it exposes their stagnation. Their discomfort is not your assignment. Even this serves a purpose. Resistance refines. Tension strengthens. You are sharpened, not shattered. Think of the ancient patterns God loves to repeat. Joseph was sold into shadows, misunderstood, misjudged, yet always observed. Favor tracked him even when freedom did not. Eyes followed his integrity in quiet rooms. David tended sheep while reports of his courage traveled faster than he did. Esther prepared in silence while the heart of a king shifted in ways she could not see. None of them knew who was watching. None of them rushed the process. Preparation in obscurity preceded promotion in God's hour. Your story echoes theirs. Different details, same rhythm. What sustains the watcher's attention is not perfection. It is your joy when resources were scarce, your peace when outcomes were uncertain. It is your generosity when you had little left to give, sowing anyway, trusting heaven's economy. It is your worship that did not fracture under delay, rising like a fragrance because it was pure. These are the markers of the kingdom, often invisible to crowds, but unmistakable to those who know how to see. Soon, fragments begin to align. An invitation arrives without explanation, rooted in months of unseen observation. A collaboration is proposed, its origin traced back to a moment you thought no one noticed. Messages come, quiet testimonies at first, your words carried me through. I didn't know how to keep going until I saw how you did. Disbelief softens into awe. Confusion gives way to clarity. Hesitation turns into confidence. But hear this clearly, with visibility comes temptation. The urge to perform, to adjust, to become what attention seems to reward. Resist this pull. Your power has always been authenticity. You do not need to bend to be chosen. You do not need to boast to be acknowledged. Esteem others. Keep your heart low even as your influence rises. The grace that lifted you can keep you only if you remain aligned. Envision the unveiling, not as spectacle, but as recognition. Doors swing wide. Faces look familiar, not because you chased them, but because they watched you long before you knew their names. You hear the words, "We've been waiting." Applause may come, but your heart bows lower than ever. Gratitude anchors you. You remember the nights when silence was loud, when faith felt like walking without a map. You remember who sustained you. Rest now. You are seen. You are cherished. You are positioned. The watchers multiply, but heaven remains your audience of one. Walk on, steady and unafraid. What is meant for you cannot miss you. What God has spoken will stand. And what rises next will not just change your story, it will bless many who never knew your name until grace introduced it at exactly the right moment.